The lights are on at Richmond International Raceway. The NASCAR Nationwide Series getting set to go with race 8 of this 2014 season and the 61st time the series has competed here at this track. Drivers buckled aboard their cars, lined up and ready to go, and the command to start engines is coming up in just moments here as finally, after a 3-hour and change rain delay, we are about set to go racing here at Richmond. Brian Scott on pole position. Getting ready to go, one of the main storylines of the night. Brian leading 239 of 250 laps in the race here last September, but losing out on a late restart to Brad Keselowski. Scott back on pole tonight and looking to take home what would be his first Nationwide Series win.
Yeah, he's been thinking about that loss for a long, long time, Brian has, and he knows what he done wrong. He let Brad Keselowski jump him on the start. Brad really didn't jump him, but he did a better job getting going. And Brian's not going to let that happen tonight. He's got a fast car, and he loves this racetrack.
And another main storyline on the night, as you look at Brian Scott there having the second most laps led in a race without winning in Nationwide Series history. Other main story in the night, Chase Elliott trying to win a third straight race in the NASCAR Nationwide Series after his surprising win at Texas and his even more surprising win at Darlington in the last race in his first ever try at the track Too Tough to Tame. Elliott lined up on the outside of row number 2 tonight. He's had to wait a while, he and all the other drivers, and us as well. But together, we're all going to hear the words we've been longing for about the past 3.5 hours now, trackside.
Race fans, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Here to give the command, please welcome our Grand Marshal, loyal Toyota owner, Walter Rookie Branham.
Drivers, start your engine!
We are running away. We'll get rolling here. We'll throw the tire fans on. Once he runs 3 or 4 or 5 laps, gets heat in the brakes and gets situated where he's not racing somebody, just remind him of the brake plan.
Those race engines sound an awful lot better than those jet dryers.
It's been a long time since they've been fired up, and they got to warm these things up and get them going right now, but I agree with you. Man, it feels good to see these babies fired up right now. They're sounding good.
Now time for all the crews to get stretched out. They've been waiting on this thing to start for so long. Time to go into action here pretty shortly. I don't know if I'd want somebody from another team to help me stretch, though.
Yeah, I don't think I trust them, that's for sure.
Well, that was Mark Hollywood Armstrong. I trust him.
Look at the front of the starting field. Well, the pit crew's about to get busy. Our pit patrol has been busy for about 3 hours now, and they're not done yet, Dave.
Alan, after this race last year, Brian Scott got kicked, literally. In the fall, you could say he got punched in the gut, narrowly missing his first Nationwide Series win after dominating the night. Tonight, Brian starts first, and he's got the chance to fight back at Richmond. Dr. Jerry Punch?
Well, 18-year-old Chase Elliott had never seen Texas Motor Speedway, and he won the race. He had never visited the famed Darlington Raceway, and he won the race. Now, a moment ago, prior to climbing in the car, Chase told me, I've been here 4 times. I have run 4 times here in lesser NASCAR series, so I know this racetrack. I have a comfort level. What does that mean? Well, how about 3 in a row NASCAR history for a rookie? How would that be? Here's Jamie Little.
Well, Doc, after multiple weeks of setbacks, including some rookie mistakes and crashes, Dylan Kwasniewski has had a solid 2 days in his first start here at Richmond. Earlier today, he qualified on the front row for just the 2nd time this season. And what's better, this team brought a brand new race car here, one they think is capable of bringing Dylan his first top 5 in the series. Alan?
Okay, Jamie, thanks. The inspectors and officials by each car with their arm in the air, signifying race control that the driver they're assigned to is ready to race. They make their final pass around the car to make sure everything is ready to go. No equipment still attached to the machine. And then the pace car will roll and lead this field off onto the racetrack for the parade and pace laps. By the way, in an increasingly foggy condition. As the temperature is dropped and the humidity changes and so on, you see some of the fog beginning to close in here on the racetrack. That makes just another interesting element to the night, doesn't it? Our ESPN in-race reporter for the night is a home stater to Virginia. Emporia is about an hour and change drive south on I-95. It's where Elliott Sadler is from. Sadler lined up tonight in that bright green Toyota in the 13th position, and let's talk to him.
Elliott Sadler, Rusty Wallace up here in the booth. You got us?
Yes, sir, Rusty. Got you loud and clear, man.
Hey, buddy, we noticed you got up in the pace car and went out there and checked this track out. What did it look like?
I thought it looked good. I mean, the apron is very wet, especially early pit road entry and also exiting. But as far as the racetrack, no weepers or no lines look wet. Actually look like we're ready to go, man.
All right, buddy, you got a brand new tire on your car right now. 4 tires that Goodyear's never brought to this racetrack. They look like they're pretty good, but you got a green racetrack also. What are you and your crew chief talking about? Are you concerned about this?
Yeah, this tire is definitely a lot different, and man, it gets slick. This right side tire with the dual zone seems to fall off a lot quicker than what we had here last year. So track should have a lot of grip in it right now, Rusty, but you really kind of got to manage your right rear too. You don't want to burn it up on this green racetrack and not have anything for the 40 laps. So you got to go, but you really got to take care of your right rear also.
All right, buddy, we got an ESPN mailbag question that comes from Kelly in Naples, Florida. The question is, you practiced and qualified here during the day. What adjustments will you have to make to succeed at night under the lights?
It's a really good question because, you know, the track does change a little bit at night, and we hopefully adjusted for that. Here, you're always, Rusty, just like you know, you fight turn through the center where you really want to get your car pointed through the center of the corner where you can drive straight off, and that's what you're going to fight all night here at Richmond. A great racetrack, very slick. It uses tire management, has a lot of fall off, but you got to get your car to turn so you can drive it straight off the corner. If you can do that, you'll have a good night.
All right, Ellie, thanks for talking to us. Have a great night, buddy. Now, Andy's going to speak to your crew chief, Chris Gale.
Thanks, Rusty.
Hey, Chris, Andy Petrie in the booth. You have us?
Yeah, I got you, Andy. Go ahead.
Yeah, Chris, Rusty talked to Elliott a little bit about this, about the new tire that's here, and NASCAR gave you guys an extra set of tires. How is it going to change your strategy here for how you're going to manage these tires during the race?
I think the way it was before, we were going to, be able to go maybe 50 laps on a set of tires. And with a green racetrack, that's a little sketchy, especially that first run. At least they did the smart thing to where it gives competition caution lap 40, let's put a set of tires on, have an extra set so we can still go 40 laps prior to the end. I think it'll just be a safer situation for all of us.
Okay, Chris, I appreciate you talking to us, and good luck tonight. I know Elliott would like to get a win here in his home track.
That'd be great. Thanks.
Elliott Sadler lined up again in 13th position. Austin Craven carrying front tires for the 33 of Cale Conley tonight. He's carrying our over-the-wall camera. Look forward to watching you work tonight, Austin. Good luck. Have a good race. Apparently, I'm not the only one that's noticed the fog is getting a little bit thicker.
This might be the foggiest race I've ever raced in. It'll be good once the vortex gets going. Be clear as day.
I've seen it. I've seen a practice session one time at Pocono that was so bad they actually had to throw the red flag they couldn't see.
Yeah, the officials in the control tower couldn't see the backside of the racetrack. We'll hope we don't get to that tonight. Brian Scott starting on pole tonight's carrying our Nationwide Insurance onboard camera. Kevin Harvick's got the Chevy on board. Trevor Bayne, the AdvoCare camera. Chase Elliott's got the Victory Motorcycles on board. Elliott Sadler, the Nationwide Insurance camera. Ryan Blaney, the Ford EcoBoost camera. Kyle Larson's got our Goodyear on board, and Kyle Busch has our Toyota on board, and we are getting 1 lap to go. So 250 laps around a 3/4 mile racetrack. That's 187.5 miles. The teams now have 6 sets of tires to run the race with, so they can change tires 5 times over the course of the night. And again, a competition caution around lap 40 after the heavy tire wear we saw at the beginning of yesterday's practice and the heavy rain that we had today before the start of this race. Brian Scott getting ready to go.
You guys got it done on pit road last time. Let's get it done. Bring home the checker flag this time. Thank you for all your hard work. Let's go have fun.
Opportunity to finish some unfinished business for Brian. And we're ready to go. Can't thank you enough for hanging around with us to watch some NASCAR Nationwide Series racing. Like you, we hope it's a great show. Brian Scott, Dylan Kwasniewski to the green flag, finally. Brian Scott leading, Kwasniewski 31, Chase Elliott 9 for second.
Tell you what, that was a pretty good start of the race right there. I thought Brian Scott did a great job getting through the gearbox, getting out ahead of Kwasniewski. That was a good move, getting down into turn 1.
Ryan Blaney 22, Trevor Baynes 6, fourth place.
Yeah, just the first couple of laps here, that second groove is actually looking pretty good. You've seen the 2 passes basically made from the outside. Chase Elliott now up to second place. He passed Kwasniewski on the outside of 3 and 4.
I'll tell you what, Andy, as a driver, going down into turn 1 at the start of the race with the track being this green.
Oh, trouble back straight away. Cars turned around.
I started to say it was always a concern of a slick racetrack on the start.
That's Kevin LePage, but that started way ahead of him. There was a car in the outside lane of the double wide that just slowed all of a sudden, like something broke or he just jumped out of the gas. And by the time the accordion got back and the traffic stacked up, LePage got turned out of traffic and into the inside wall. See right there, see everybody starting to scatter around that red and white car on the outside.
Boy, that's a pretty good lick for LePage on that inside wall. Yeah, that's something happened to...
You see the hand waving out the window, but I still can't pick out the number.
Yeah, it was obvious that driver was in trouble.
Somebody came off the wall and got right
into me. Might be the 55 car.
No. Bottom of the racetrack going onto the pit lane here. And behind...
It's so foggy we can't see the back straightaway.
Behind the Sprint Cup garage. And
17.
That's Tanner Berryhill. Okay, that's who it was. He had his hand out the left side window trying to wave everybody off behind him. But everybody's coming along full steam.
Middle of back straightaway. It's hard to see off of turn 2. They're side by side. And Alan trying to see through the windshield to see something going wrong is a tough deal.
And these cars are accelerating so hard up off of turn 2.
So watch right up there. No, sorry, it's further back. There's Berryhill right there.
Yeah, you can see his hand out the window. Oh, my goodness. That's too bad for the pace. Yeah, it's hard hit.
Glad to see Kevin's out of the car. Berryhill coasted down the pit lane and all the way to the Nationwide Series garage. And so it didn't take long, just a few laps for trouble to break out here in Richmond. Well, don't know what that was for sure, but whatever it was, Berryhill lost power quickly.
Yeah, either something in the drivetrain broke or the engine just absolutely wouldn't pull at all.
Some push, Gary.
Yeah, it's hard to speculate about what happened to that thing. I mean, I didn't see any smoke come out of the car. It could have been a missed gear, a broke transmission, something like that. Not a missed gear, but a broke transmission. That could have been. Again, I'm speculating on this. I shouldn't be doing that.
Early pit stop for Mike Harmon, but all of the front runners have stayed on the racetrack here. And we work under the caution flag after just a couple of few laps of green flag racing.
Yeah, pit road was still pretty slick. One of his pit crew members actually went down when he came in. He's able to get up and finish the pit stop, though.
Early caution following the usual trend here at Richmond. By the way, we usually get a very late one, too. Cleaning up from a quick caution that came out in the early laps of the Toyota Care 250 at Richmond. NASCAR Nationwide Series, if for some reason you've just tuned in, yes, just underway here tonight after a 3+ hour delay due to a very heavy rain and thunderstorm that came through the capital area. A lot of early cautions, a lot of late cautions. The history at this racetrack, and that late caution setting up the key to deciding both of these races last year, the late restart on which the lead changed hands in both of last year's events. See if that plays out again later tonight.
We got word that Berryhill's car evidently lost a drive shaft. Evidently, that's what happened to the 17 car, Tanner Berryhill's car. So I was speculating on it, but just got word that looks like the problem.
That'd make it lose forward drive?
Yeah, absolutely. You don't have anything hooked to the transmission to the rear end, and when you don't have that, you're not going to go anywhere.
Kevin LePage checked and released from the Infield Care Center, and we're doubled up for the restart. And on board with Brian Scott, who will have to get away from Chase Elliott this time, who will be on his outside.
Tell you what, Chase Elliott did a heck of a job going from 4th up there that quick. He was really closing on Brian Scott. And I think right now he's probably got the preferred line on the outside of the track as far as getting that momentum built up and keeping it.
Kwasniewski and Blaney in the second row. Bain and Buscher in row number 3. Kevin Harvick on the move in that 5 car, started back in 9th place. He's up to 5th already.
And Alan, right now, these guys are just trying to get a little position and kind of settle in. They know they've got that competition caution coming at lap 40. They want to get to that part. Because right now, on this racetrack, it's like driving on 60 grit sandpaper. Really aggressive on the tires. It's tearing them up right now. They know their car is going to handle a little bit different at the moment. And I'll tell you, that pit stop is going to be key for them to see where their cars are at and how that tire wear is doing.
Hard racing for 3rd here between a couple of youngsters. Dylan Kwasniewski, 31. Ryan Blaney, 22. Remember that 22 car won both Richmond races last year with Brad Keselowski aboard.
Yeah, and it seems like every pass we've seen has been on the high side. Ryan Blaney completes that pass on Kwasniewski from the high side.
Daniel Suarez, 20. Landon Castle, 0-1. Suarez with his Nationwide Series debut. That's 14th and 15th place. And some busy hands inside that 20 car.
Oh, yeah. Daniel's going to learn really fast about this racetrack. He had a lot of questions earlier in practice yesterday and today about what's the track going to do? What do I need to watch out for? But I'm sure that team, Joe Gibbs Racing, they're so smart. They probably loaded this kid up with a lot of information already.
While we watch this, Kevin LePage, big hit earlier after getting turned out of traffic. He has come from the Infield Care Center. Jamie?
He's been checked and released, told me he's okay. Kevin, what happened exactly there? Did it have anything to do with the fog and the track conditions early?
First of all, I got to thank Johnny Davis and Joe Nemechek for allowing me to drive the 87 car tonight. You know, we're just out there riding and down low, and all of a sudden somebody come off the wall and got me on the right side, turned me into the inside wall. And, you know, we're an unsponsored team. You know, we're just trying to survive in this business, and, you know, got to thank Nationwide for put on a good show. But, you know, we had a car that should have run the top 20 tonight, but, I mean, it's not the track's fault. It's the guys out there driving. I mean, it's so early in the race, and you got to come off the wall and wreck somebody. It's unfortunate for us.
Long day of waiting ended quickly. Alan?
And obviously, Kevin hasn't seen the replay yet to understand that someone had a mechanical problem in front of him and the field was scattering around that car. Tough luck for Kevin, who is what doesn't change about his statement, an unsponsored team trying to survive and get into the next race.
It's the last thing they needed was tear up a race car like that. A lot of damage they did to that 87 car.
So Kevin Harvick got by Dylan Kwasniewski in that 31. Trevor Bayne working on him there for 5th place. Did everything but scrape the paint on the side of the wall there.
Tell you what, you can pretty well tell everybody's kind of settled in right now. They're kind of watching their P's and Q's. Not getting too racy, except, of course, Kyle Busch, who's one of the best drivers out there, working that high lane. And that high lane is going to be real crucial at the end of this race. Generally, at this racetrack, that second lane is the fastest lane because these Nationwide cars can keep that momentum going up there.
Regan Smith started 6th. He's fallen back a little bit. Kyle Busch started in 8th. He also has given up a couple of spots, Dave.
And AV, you remember when we talked to him during the rain delay, Kyle said they were struggling with the new setup they've thrown at this car. And he described it to me off camera a little bit. The difference between what it's doing going into the corner and what it's doing coming off the corner is so great, it's difficult to balance out. And he says right now his car is horrible.
Yeah, that's one real issue. If you have a car that's not doing the same thing, entering and exiting, it's very difficult to fix. That's kind of a decoupling. And it's just hard to fix that problem without having to do some multiple changes. But Kyle struggled with that car. I noticed his brake rotors were really red there just a minute ago when he was racing somebody really hard. Like he's eased up a little bit now and he's losing another spot. You can see those brake rotors.
Look at that, Andy. You and I talked about that at the beginning of the broadcast. That's a great indication that there is something wrong with your car. If you've got brake rotors that hot this early, that car is either pushing or it's loose, one or the other.
And what you do in practice, if you had a car that was doing something different on entrance and exit, you basically try to get it to do the same thing and then start working on it. It's hard to do during the race, though.
Kyle reporting in.
It is loose in. It is plowing the middle. It is tight back to gas. Up.
Yeah, I can see some front rotor glow here, so I don't think you can do anything brake-wise right now.
Well, that car's loose going at the corner, like you said, and the only thing you can do to keep from getting too loose is slow down. In order to do that, you got to put your foot on the brake, and that's the reason these brakes are so hot right now.
So Kyle Busch has slipped back to 12th place. You saw Kyle Larson go by him in the 42. Ryan Scott starting to catch some lap traffic. Chase Elliott kind of steady. 3-4 car lengths behind him. And your top 4 have put a little bit of distance on 5th place on back.
Well, the last couple laps, I've been watching the lap times. It looks like Chase Elliott's got about a car's about 1/10 of a second faster than Brian Scott. But right now, it looks to me the fastest car in the field on the stopwatch up here is Kevin Harvick. He's the one that's starting to get it going.
You know, we talked earlier, but not making the assumption that people have been with us for the 2-hour qualifying, the 3-hour rain fill, and so on. But the whole Junior Motorsports team's performance level this season has been elevated. Started with Regan Smith winning at Daytona. Not that that was any surprise, but they've entered 3 or 4 cars in every Nationwide Series race this year. And since Daytona, for the last 6 of them now after Daytona, every car they've entered in a race has finished the race in the top 10. That's not easy to do.
No, it's not. And I talked to Kevin Harvick about that very thing. You know, how, you know, him coming over there in combination with Chase Elliott and the success he's had. This team seems to have made a big jump in performance. And he said that, you know, that they started this season by cutting up a lot of cars, putting new bodies on. They've really spared no resource to make all these cars better, and it really is showing up on the track.
These cars have all got good sponsors down the side of them, bringing money in, and I'll tell you what, money buys speed. There's no doubt about that. Rick Hendrick is helping a lot with the technology. Dale Jr.'s behind it. And like I said earlier, I talked to Regan Smith, and this guy is a real team player. He said they really love their team right now, the way everybody's paired up, the crew chiefs and the drivers.
Elliott Sadler moving up, getting a spot on Chris Buescher in the 60s. Smith following through the open door. Sadler up to 8th after starting back in 13th place. And now Regan Smith rallying up into the number 9 position after falling back a couple of spots since the start. Change for 3rd, Kevin Harvick around Ryan Blaney.
That's that cream rising to the top we were talking about earlier.
Kevin, a 6-time winner in the Nationwide Series here. And by the way, how impressive has this NASCAR Sprint Cup Series start been this year?
I talked to Kevin again, and I'll tell you, he is fired up about that. He told me, so Rusty, we got everything brand new trucks and trailers, brand new cars, even brand new uniforms. Man, it feels good to start off with this much momentum over Tony Stewart Racing, Haas Stewart Racing, with all this good stuff. He said, but look at my Nationwide cars here. My Nationwide cars look brand new also. It's been a long time since I had equipment that's this pretty and everything new.
Harvick up to second. He's been a factor to win every Cup race this year and won a couple of them already and is having a good time. Talked to him down in the garage a little bit on Thursday, and a lot of things going on, but couldn't ask for a better start, and just looking to continue to build on that all the way through that chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup that starts right after the Richmond race here in September.
You could tell that Kevin was just ready to do something different. I want to say one more thing. Richard Childress Racing, he really gave Kevin some beautiful cars. The stuff he drove for Childress, beautiful cars, great engines, all that too. But it kind of ran its course now. Kevin's moved on, doing his own deal with Junior Motorsports and Stewart Haas, and let's see how it works for everybody. Right now it's working good for Kevin.
23 car going a lap down. Josh Reaume in his NASCAR Nationwide Series debut. Young man who makes his living most race weekends as an engineer for TriStar Motorsports, bouncing around back and forth between the 14 and 19 cars, but his dreams to be a driver, and he's gotten a chance for here and hopefully some more races this year.
It's like Kyle Larson's struggling just a little bit here in this part of the run.
Yeah, I'm seeing both of those cars right there, 54 to 42, brakes are on fire. The 99 car, the brakes were on fire in front of it too. Like all three of them are having some type of issue that they really have to use a lot of brake.
At this point, for all the conversation about tires and so on, as close as you are to the competition caution, aren't you just trying to get there?
Yeah, right now
one
you've
of
only
these guys
got
with the hill handling car.
Right, Alan. We've only got 2 laps to that competition caution, and obviously these guys are racing not like it's coming up to 2 laps though, but they're going to be able to breathe a little bit, reset, readjust their car, kind of get a handle on what's going on with this green racetrack.
So Ryan Blaney up to third, Chase Elliott back to fourth. And Kevin Harvick closing in on Brian Scott for the race lead.
Yeah, at this point in the run, he's a couple of tenths quicker. So he's catching Brian Scott at a pretty good pace. See if he tries to push him for the lead before this caution comes out. A little nudge.
When you said push him for the lead that way?
Literally.
Little nudge on the gas pedal to get it through the center of the corner. There's the caution.
Yellow's out.
Brian Scott still the leader, and this competition caution out, second one of the race. 4 teams after the heavy rains to check the tire wear and get a chance to make some adjustments on the race cars. Some of them obviously need it.
Yeah, some of them really need it. Looks like Brian's got a good car, but not as good as Kevin Harvick's car. Harvick's kind of hit the setup pretty good. But Harvick's smart enough to know right now that he needs to make some adjustments probably because this track is going to change. That's where the veteran stuff comes in.
Pit crew's getting set to go to work. Remember, the pit road still not 1,000% dry like the racing surface is, so teams are going to have to be a little bit careful there. Pit road closed, so it'll be another lap before the stops.
Pit boxes look pretty dry, but the pit road itself is still pretty damp.
Andy, you were one of the best tire changers when you're working with Earnhardt and all those guys. What did it feel like to you when you knew that surface was wet and you had to leap over that wall and go at that car?
I only got hurt one time changing tires. Never really got hit by a car or anything, but at Bristol, it was after a rain delay. Went across the wall to change rear tires at the time for Harry Gant. And I had got a bad sprain. It just went down hard on the wet surface and sprained my ankle. Thought I'd broke my leg. I thought it as bad as it hurt, but it was a bad sprain. That's the only time I ever really got hurt. Was on a wet pit road.
It was on your mind though when you jumped over that something might be going wrong.
You know, the problem was it wasn't.
It wasn't? Okay.
No, but after that it was every time it was wet.
Pit road open here. Brian Scott, Kevin Harvick, Ryan Blaney, Chase Elliott, Dylan Kwasniewski, the top 5. Everybody coming in. Doc?
And they've reminded Chase Elliott, remember pit road a little bit damp. Got to be careful getting on the pit road. Left top of your screen, Chase Elliott says a little bit free on entry, but very tight trying to roll the middle of the corner. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment left side and a right rear track bar change and top it full of Sunoco fuel. Dave.
Kevin Harvick coming to the front. He needs Sunoco fuel and an air pressure adjustment, air out of the right front, a little bit tight. As for the 22 of Ryan Blaney, loose in, tight in the middle. He'll get adjustments. And your leader, Brian Scott, tight in the middle, loose off. They're looking at an air pressure adjustment, full of Sunoco fuel, and a victory off of pit road, AB.
I think Kel Conley missed his pit box, and that is why he went out up so many spots. He'll be coming back around. Now, attention, grab your remote control, because after this commercial break, Sports Center's coming up on ESPN News. The race is moving over to ESPN2 right now. ESPN2, grab the remote control, change it right now, go! Live, Richmond International Raceway, the NASCAR Nationwide Series Toyota Care 250, delayed over 3 hours by rain, about to go back racing with Brian Scott on the 2, with Kevin Harvick in the 5, the front row cars for this restart. If you made the move with us over from ESPN News, thanks. If you're just joining us from ESPN2, welcome in. Going to see some pretty exciting short track racing here, the NASCAR Nationwide Series on this track that's nicknamed the Action Track. First round of pit stops just completed. Here's a look at the restart order as they get set to go. Loser on the round of pit stops was Regan Smith. Went from 8th to 16th on the pit stops. We'll follow up on one. Kevin Harvick led that one by a fender.
Hey, the last 2 restarts, Brian Scott's had some great restarts. He jumped out there, but this time he couldn't put it on the veteran Kevin Harvick. Harvick, another great restart by him.
Lap and the key car ahead. Sorry, Rusty.
That's all right. The
Comes
key,
Chase Elliott on the outside of Harvick.
He had a good run off of turn 2. Harvick did get this lead.
That inside lane, had to hesitate just for a second around that lap car.
Yeah, I thought Chase Elliott was going to get the lead there. Jumped right up on the right rear of Harvick. Brian Scott's kind of just hung on the bottom. You'd think that'd be the preferred lane. He'd be able to get clear, but not so far.
You just can't. You don't have any downforce when you're locked down there at the bottom, Andy, like Brian is. You got the right side of that car leaning against the air, and that's favoring Trevor Bayne right now.
Bayne in the 6th. Taking 3rd, or trying to, from Scott in the 2. Ryan Blaney 22, Dylan Kwasniewski 31. And a driver who's really been moving up well under green flag conditions in this opening segment of the race, Elliott Sadler in that green number 11.
They didn't have exactly what they were looking for in practice, and they made some changes. Talked to Chris Gale this afternoon. Felt like they had made the right changes, and were worried about kind of how the track was going to develop tonight. Like they made the right guesses so far.
Yeah, he's done a good job. You know, we've talked about Elliott being so excited to get to this particular track. He's a Virginia guy. This is his favorite track. He's got a lot of friends and family here tonight. And his voice, when we were talking to him as our in-race report, he sounded pretty confident.
A lot of energy in it, wasn't
Yeah, it sure was.
Oop, Kwasniewski a little bob and weave on the back end of that 31. And Sadler works on him to grab a spot. Kyle Busch, remember at the end of that green flag run there, saw that 54 car fading, had the right front brake rotor aglow. It's still aglow.
Well, I think probably the first run, they could have blamed it on a green racetrack. Now that they got 55 laps down, they got fresh tires in these cars. definitely these drivers get a much better read what's going on.
I think they made a good adjustment on this 54 also. He's not going backwards anymore. He's going the right way. Look how good he is. I mean, he just made a nice pass right there. Get in position, made the pass on Dylan Kwasniewski.
Got two of them in that one lap, Dave.
And of course, Kyle was looking for a big adjustment, describing the car as horrible on the first run. Crew Chief Adam Stevens threw right side wedge at it, track bar adjustment, air pressure adjustment. He said, we're going to make a big change here, and it looks like it's paying off early.
I tell you, when you got Kyle Busch in a car that's going backwards in that first run, you need to make a big change.
Yeah, he knows what he wants, and obviously he couldn't carry the car any longer. He had to get that chassis tuned up, get that thing running better, but still the telling tale is the brake rotor is still hot, so there's still a problem there.
So Kyle Busch moving up. Mentioned that Regan Smith lost a lot of ground on the pit stops. Came in 8th, restarted 15th. Doc, what happened?
Well, he had to pull around the 9 car on pit road, and the crew tells me that when he got to the pit stall, unfortunately the front tires were not straight, so they had trouble getting the front tires off. The wheels and tires were actually hitting the fender when they tried to pull them off. It cost them enough time and a lot of spots during that pit stop.
It always comes down to those little details. Just having that steering wheel straight is so important to be able to make good pit stops.
So Regan Smith trying to dig out from the hole that they have dug themselves on that first pit stop for the 17. Racing there with Brendan Gaughan for 13th place. And again, you're still in that balance. Depending on what those tires that came off your car look like, how hard do you press for how long, because there's still a long way to go in this race.
Yeah, you're right. That was a very, very key 40 or 41 laps they run for these crew guys to take a look at the tire wear and see what they're up against. I mean, a lot of them are going to say, hey, we're fine, go for it. Some of them are going to say, hey, we're not there yet.
Yeah, and the gas tanks will take these cars, well over 100 laps. So, you don't know that there's going to be another caution in 40 or 50 laps to be able to look at them again. So you got to be, mindful of that. Make sure you take care of the tire.
I'm just fascinated by the way the cars look in the fog under the lights. Certainly interesting conditions for the race tonight. 43, Dakota Armstrong. 20, Daniel Suarez. 16, Ryan Reed. 0-1, Landon Castle. All racing for position. That's 15th, 16th, 17th, and 18th spots.
Take a look at Daniel Suarez right here, I am, just to see his line, see how comfortable he looks. We talked earlier in the show how he is just a sponge, really trying to figure this track out. Got a lot of racing left. We got K&N race tomorrow, then he's going to fly down to Monterrey, Mexico, and race there on Sunday. He's got a great opportunity right now driving this Joe Gibbs 20 that Matt Kenseth has drove to success. It's a great ride he's in right now.
Just got through his first experience at a full-speed live Nationwide Series pit stop.
Yeah, it did pretty good too. I noticed that they got in and out of the pit stop without really any incident. Sounds easy to do, but it's not.
I'm telling you what, guys, the fog is so bad out here, it almost looks like somebody has blown an engine or something. Vision's getting down here.
So we had a camera focused on Suarez on the pit stop because he'd mentioned several times that he'd never done a full pit stop like this before.
Slides it right on the mark. Still not exactly straight, but straight enough.
Net result of that, between the proficiency of the Joe Gibbs Racing crew, the problems some others had, and what Suarez did getting on and off pit road, he gained 4 spots on the pit stop. Jamie?
And Daniel's feedback has been really good. It's been spot on all weekend, according to his crew chief, Kevin Kidd. And tonight, he said he's just a little bit loose on entry and exit, so they wanted to help him out there on that stop. And they did 4 tire stop there. They went down on the track bar and made an air pressure adjustment. And as you noted, it was a great job by him. But this team's expectations tonight, just finish on the lead lap. If we can do that, it's great. And he's driving for a job. If he does a good job, he might be back in this 20 car before year's end.
Clean car so far, and solid job by Daniel Suarez. So Kevin Harvick needed to drive 21 laps in the lead tonight to pass Mark Martin as the all-time lap leader in Nationwide Series competition at Richmond. He's done it.
That's a lot of laps. Man, look at that.
Anytime you break a record Mark Martin set, you know you're getting something done.
It just seemed like every week the Nationwide cars ran when Mark was driving. He was always winning. Really breaking records and winning tons of races and setting a benchmark for everybody. And for Kevin now to lead more laps than Mark, that's a big deal.
Harvick has pulled away from Chase Elliott by 2.5 seconds. Trevor Bayne is 4 seconds back in third. Brian Scott 4.5 seconds back in fourth, with Ryan Blaney and Kyle Busch your top 6. On a foggy night, late at night in Richmond, Kevin Harvick is the race leader. Some late night racing live on a Friday from Richmond, Virginia, and more motor racing throughout the weekend on the ESPN networks, including the O'Reilly Auto Parts NHRA Spring Nationals from down outside of Houston, qualifying 6 p.m. Eastern tomorrow on ESPN2, with final eliminations coming up on Sunday night at 7 Eastern, also here on ESPN2. Next weekend, NASCAR action is at the world's fastest speedway, Talladega, for the Nationwide Series on Saturday. ESPN at 2:30 Eastern Time. Our telecast presented by Victory Motorcycles. Who knows what's going to happen, but we know this. It will be spectacular, and there'll probably be a photo finish at the end of it.
It'll be a nail-biter.
It will be. So looking ahead from Ryan Blaney, this now 6th place runner, at now 5th place runner Kyle Busch, the 54, through the foggy conditions that have gotten notice on the 22 teams communication channel.
If it gets much worse, I might need a backstretch spotter. Copy.
You've been to a dirt track before, right? Have you seen when they get dry and slick and how this is visibility very similar to that?
A haze.
Yeah.
Looks like we're looking at a pile of dust out there, doesn't it?
Ryan Blaney driving the car that Brad Keselowski drove to victory in both of last year's races here. Blaney solidly in 6th position right now, but after giving up a spot to Kyle Busch, sees Elliott Sadler in that green 11 drawing in his back bumper. Update on the double deuce from Dave.
They're trying to counsel the young driver, veteran spotter Joey Meyer and crew chief Jeremy Bullins. He's loose into the corner, but he's taking a high arcing line getting in, and they want him to be careful of that because that could be trouble.
Yeah, if you're loose going out the corner, you stay way out, you try to pull it down off the wall, that really makes the car loose. And I agree with the crew chief. You better be careful. And you need to drive that car in the corner.
Set 4. That's what we were talking about. Set 4.
Probably needs to drive that car in the corner just a little bit straighter.
Whoa, now, look at that car. Really sideways off turn 4.
Sadler continuing to move up in the 11. Ty Dillon trying to follow him in his tire tracks in that 3. And Blaney slipping back in that loose race car.
You know, Harvick's jumped out to about a 3.5 second lead while these guys are racing position. I was talking to Harvick about just, you know, he knows what to expect out of this track, and I made him be specific. I said, what's it really do? He says it really comes down to rear grip. So you've got to have those rear tires hooked up. It's not about getting the front tires to turn. He said that's what you seem to everybody wants to do in practice. But when that race starts, he says you better have those back tires hooked up. And he's got them hooked up tonight.
I totally agree with that. Under throttle on the exit of the corner especially. You saw the 22 cars actually spinning the tires on the front straightaway.
Yeah, that's what got me to thinking about Harvick's comments. I saw Ryan Blaney just really spinning those rear tires, and that's just not going to get it done here. The only race I ever won as a crew chief here with Harry Gant, we were not very good in practice, and we kept trying everything. It's still shoving the nose, everything. Finally, he said, just put 2 real soft rear springs in and hook up the back tires. I'll worry about the rest of it. Get those back tires hooked up.
Probably worked okay, didn't it?
It did work out.
And you see Kevin Harvick's accomplished a lot in the Nationwide Series here at Richmond, including now leading more laps here than he has anywhere else. Brian Scott trying to get 3rd spot away from Trevor Bayne. Scott started on pole, led the opening 45 laps.
Another young man needed a little bit of adjustment on his car. It's not to his liking at the moment.
See Kyle Busch, though. He's in the top 5 now. Still moving forward. He had a really good adjustment on that car. He was going straight back in that first run.
Well, he got in the corner really deep that time. You see him underneath Trevor Bayne, just bombed that baby down in there and cleared him on entry and didn't spin a tire up off the corner. And just passed over Trevor right there. It's a good move out of Kyle right there. A real aggressive move.
Watching to see who's got him blowing in the front.
You know, Al, I'm thinking about the 6 car. There's a lot of talk now about a brand new chassis getting ready to come out. The Trevor Bayne, the guys from Roush. They kind of feel like they got behind a little bit on their nationwide program. I hear they're developing some stuff. Then I'll try to get it out. I really don't know if they're working with the Penske team on that or not. Jamie, what are you hearing?
Well, they hope to have that car rolled out by Charlotte, but that is to be determined. As for Trevor Bayne here, he came on the radio before the first pit stop and said, this is the best forward drive I've ever had. He just wanted to be freed up in the center, so they did. The car got better. Well, you see now, he's slipping back. The car is getting worse. He said he's getting extremely tight, and in his mind, he's very worried about the tires, taking care of them, and not blowing that right front tire. Doc?
And the 11 car, the green car there, left side of your picture, is Elliott Sadler. He has been on the move, but just a moment ago, Elliott radioed and said, I'm starting to get a vibration in the right front, and I'm thinking it might be a tire issue. And that's slowed him down, but he certainly has been vocal about it on the radio. That's got to be worrisome a little bit, Andy.
Well, that's, with all the conversation that's gone on about the tire and the new tire and adapting to the new tire and so on, it's going to be in a lot of people's heads as this race goes on.
Yeah, one thing is with these new tires, Goodyear has been rolling out lately. When they do start to go, at least on the wear, when they start wearing out, they'll pull a little bit of that cord, and then that thing will start kind of unspooling and flap against the hood or flap against a fender panel. It really is kind of a warning before the tire blows out.
60 Chris Buescher, 42 Kyle Larson. Racing for 11th and 12th, putting a lap on Joe Nemechek, who's aboard that 86 car here this week. Remember when we talked to Larson pre-race, he thought he had a car could run up there and challenge for the lead, and he really hasn't made any forward progress at all.
Yeah, another guy that's still searching to get that car handled better. I mean, you got to admit, guys, this track is very, very green still. It's going to change a lot. I think these series of pit stops, these adjustments, are going to be pretty big as this night goes on.
He's chasing that one.
Yeah, see, there's another car, just like you're talking about, Andy, on exit, up on the straightaway getting loose.
Now, I think that's one thing Kyle Larson's going to learn is that, this particular place, just like Harvick has learned, you've got to keep those rear tires hooked up, even if you have to give up a little front grip through the center of the corner.
So all this talk we've done about tires, just joining us, not been with us through the course of all the delays and such. Goodyear brought a new tire combination here to Richmond for this race. The left side tire is one that has been run other places, but new here to Richmond. And the right side tire, one of the new Zone Tread combinations. The outer 9 inches of the tire is the same rubber compound that's been used here the last couple of years, but the inside third of the shoulder of the tire is a tougher, harder rubber. And by making that change, they also changed up the difference in circumference between the left side and right side tires. It's given the teams a lot to think about and a lot to adapt to over the course of this race. And of course, the conditions on which they're trying to adapt to that are ever changing with the rain and so on. So Kevin Harvick leads the Toyota Care 250 at Richmond. A reminder, NASCAR.com/RaceBuddy has enhanced cut race action tonight from here at Richmond International Raceway. 50 laps on the green here for Kevin Harvick. the race leader by 5 seconds. Back live, Richmond in the Toyota Care 250 for the NASCAR Nationwide Series, led by Kevin Harvick, getting to a really delicate part of the race now. We've just seen a few cars on and off pit road making tire changes and with heavily worn right front tires. Something that's gotten the attention, I'm sure, of the crew chiefs of all of these front runners. Dakota Armstrong in that 43 right there on leader Kevin Harvick in the 5, one of the drivers who just came on and off the pit road.
And this is 56 laps we've been under green. Like I said, we've seen 2 cars. Landon Castle also wore his right front into the cords.
So we go up to speed with Nationwide Insurance and find out what the teams are thinking down in the pit lane. Here's Dave.
Early in the race, Kevin Harvick reported that his car was just a little tight, and he and crew chief Ernie Cope agreed to work on it a little bit at a time. Well, the first pit stop, they made an air pressure change. Now they're thinking about raising the track bar because that car has gotten that much tighter. But, again, an adjustment at a time. In a very fast race car, Kevin has this race under control right now. Doc?
And behind him, the 9 car, the rookie Chase Elliott, and it's a learning process for Chase. They have told Chase you have got to be able to take care of your tires and keep the tires under you. Chase had told him he thought he was burning the right rear tire off the car. He said, look, just back up, take care of those rear tires, and we'll make adjustments when we need to. Right now, you're in good shape. Dave.
Pole sitter Brian Scott has led 45 laps tonight. If he's able to get back up to the front, it's going to be because they fixed a loose race car. It was loose on the first run. They made a little bit of an air pressure adjustment. They're calling for more the next time. You can see it coming off the corner. The back end gets away. Doc?
Right behind him, the local boy, Elliott Sadler, has never won at his home racetrack in Nationwide or Sprint Cup. Elliott was not at all happy with the adjustment they made on the first pit stop. You heard me say that he's got a vibration in the right front. It's getting worse. Alan?
Watch Ryan Blaney slow from 9th place. Got trapped up on the outside of the racetrack for a lap. Couldn't get to the pit lane. Now has, Dave.
And they will pit the race car. We'll see what comes off of it in terms of the race car. Yes, the right front is corded as well. It's a spiral overlay construction is what Goodyear calls it. And if one of those cords, because of extreme wear, starts to come apart, the whole thing unravels. And that's what's happened to Ryan Blaney and his right front tire, AB.
Headed back out. Now, as you can imagine, racers will do. You're a crew chief, you start to see that happening around you. All of a sudden, there are all kinds of reports of debris coming in from various cars, trying to get NASCAR to throw a caution. Of course, we don't see any debris out there, and we stay under the green flag.
Now, you can see that's just how that tire unwinds those cords. The good thing about that is it didn't blow out. It does give the driver that warning. He feels that, and you can hear it.
Tell you what, that's awful severe. Although the track conditions out there, with the track being so green, with all the rain's pretty severe too. But
I think 20 has the same problem right now.
You guys be ready right here. Coming to you halfway down the back.
Track's not taking rubber.
Okay, road speed right here, Daniel.
Something.
Yeah, I think he got on the brakes pretty hard there and blew it out.
That's a mess, Jamie.
Well, you see it right there. We don't need to explain it. They're trying to lift the car up so they can get underneath there. You see a fire there. Look at those actual flames coming off those brake pads, getting extremely hot. Remember, Daniel making his first start here in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. They're talking to their driver right now, taking the time, making sure they get everything taken care of. And you still see the flames on the right front there as they continue to change the 4 tires, but they're holding them in the pit box. They're going to wait. You can see he's still on fire, Alan.
Looks like they may have some of the rubber off of that tire that shredded, get up on the headers and catch on fire. Looks like it's still on fire.
I wonder if he pushed the ring out of the pistons and the calipers.
I mean, that's possible, but I really believe he's got something else going on there.
In the right front. Got a little fire in the right front.
by now, generally, that fire would have went out. We've seen a lot of that on pit stops. You get a little fire there, but this is staying. It's not going away.
Tires here. Cold tires.
to believe there's just a lot of debris from that shredded tire that got up on the header.
Yeah, it looks like it's one away right now. It just kind of ground itself up and spit it out.
More green flag pit stops. Kyle Larson is in. James Buescher is in. Doc?
Kyle Larson has complained the car has been very tight in the middle. They're going to go ahead and make a 4-tire change. Take a good look at that right front tire. When the car is tight, it really uses the right front. So they've changed all 4 tires and top him off with Sunoco full fuel. James Buescher, meanwhile, behind him, looking for his first top 5 of the year in the 99 car. Left side tires run, that completes the 4-tire change, and Buescher is away.
Commitment line violation on Denton Flowers. So that's why he is coming in here. Pass-through penalty for the 20. Elliott Sadler trying to get 3rd spot away from Brian Scott. Sadler continues an impressive drive in that 11.
This could be one of the best runs that Elliott's had all year long. That car is just flat hooked up right now. Handling really good for him. Again, we talk about this racetrack. He loves this place. Mentally, he is on it here tonight at Richmond.
Some cars with fresher tires working their way underneath Sadler, opening the door for Scott to challenge him back again. And by the way, Ty Dillon right with Elliott Sadler, lap for lap and stride for stride up through the pack. While Dylan Kwasniewski, who started on the front row, is in the pits.
And this run, Alan, he fell from 5th to 10th. This car very tight in, very free off of the corner. So they made a chassis adjustment, air pressure adjustment as well for Kwasniewski. He'll get it full of Sunoco fuel.
Scott worked the throttle, try to hold off Ty Dillon while Chris Buescher is in the pits. Jamie?
Did a nice job in qualifying the 2nd straight race in a row. He qualified in the top 10, saying his car was a little bit snappy loose early on. 4 tire stops, they filled him up with Sunoco fuel. Clean stop down.
Ryan Reed is in. Jamie?
And Chris Buescher's teammate, Ryan Reed, doing a nice job marking his 1-year anniversary of his Nationwide Series debut. His car got worse on that run as well, just like his 2 teammates, so they tried to help him out. 4 tires stopped as well and filled him up. Meanwhile, the 33, he's in his pit box as they made the mark. Remember, the first stop, he missed his pit box. He's all the way down in the last pit box, so he made it that time. Trying to fix his car up. 4 tire stop as well, 14 seconds.
You enter that interesting part of the race now where the guys that pitted that have fresh tires are going to be driving past all these leaders. And the leaders are going much more slowly, but an advantage because, you know, if the caution comes out, they've trapped all those guys a lap down.
Yeah, at this point, there's only, 8 cars on the lead lap.
There's an interesting 3-wide traffic jam on the pit lane. Brian Scott's going to have to go left to get to his pit box right across in front of those cars. Dave?
Hits his marks perfectly. Brake rotors are glowing. There'll be a track bar adjustment for him. His car was very, very loose, and so you're going to work on that. He was one of those drivers reporting debris. He wanted to definitely have that advantage if he could, but now they'll take their 4-tire stop. And as for the 5-car of Harvick, he can stay out till about lap 146. Doc?
How about Regan Smith after the issues on pit road? He restarted 15th, drove right back to the top 7. Now comes on pit road. They're going to drop the track bar, has to turn there in the right rear. 4 tires. Regan said the car is loose in and loose off. A little bit snug in the middle. He's down on the way in less than 13.5 seconds.
You're Ernie Cope, Kevin Harvick's crew chief in that 5. If you like the look of the tires that came off your car on the first pit stop, you're doing this, leaving them out there for a long run with confidence, right?
Well, not a lot of confidence. You're seeing all these cars having these tire issues and pitting early. And the one thing is, with all of them having that kind of problem, the chances of a caution coming out are really high. And that's why he's trying to stay out as long as he can. if this goes a full cycle, Kevin Harvick will find himself playing catch-up after he does make that stop.
Now look at the guys behind him with pressure tires. Brian Scott 2, Ryan Blaney 22. They're about to run over the guy that's been the dominant driver and car in this race.
And he's leading the race, and he's in the way.
What did the 5 team have to say about this, the first run of tires, Dave?
I had a look at him, Alan. He had the same look as many of the front runners did, just a little spot cording on that right front. So there definitely was some look of wear, but nothing to be too concerned about. However, a couple of the cars that had the same look have been the ones that have had issues, and Kevin, of course, has been recording his cars a little bit tight, so they've got to be careful. And meanwhile, Kyle Busch is in the pits for his pit stop. This run, it was loose, and the right rear was giving up for his race car. That was his report. They plan to make another big change. You see the wrench go around a couple of times there in the rear window. So still struggling with this 54 car for Kyle.
And Kevin Harvick is slowing to just about a crawl now. He's last lap of 25.20.
He's holding on for dear life right now. That car is definitely starting to have a tire issue, I think.
Now, I think he stayed out there at least a couple, 3 laps too long.
Here he comes.
Way down here.
Chase Elliott follows him onto the pit lane, as does Ty Dillon. Dave?
The plan is for the track bar to go up one round only, and a full load of Sunoco fuel for him. So the car looks good. We'll see what the right front looks like coming off. It does appear to show a little bit of wear, but he's made it through the cycle. Doc?
4 tires, fuel, track bar up 2 rounds for the 9 car of Chase Elliott. Want to make sure it takes care of the right rear tire. 3 cars fitting this lap, clean the grill, 4 tires and fuel, and Ty Dillon down and away. And Elliott Sadler on pit road. He thought the right front tire had damage. The guys take a good long look at the right front tire. He was not happy with the previous adjustment for the car. Became a rocket ship. 4 tires, air pressure. Now Elliott moves away. Great stop. Jamie.
And Trevor Bayne made the call to pit. He said, I cannot hang on any longer. I can't be tighter and I can't go faster. They're going to hook him up here. Fresh new tires. Fill him up with fuel, wedge adjustment, and air pressure, reminding him not to speed. Alan?
All right, Jamie, so the cycle of pit stops goes through quickly, and the lead goes back to the hands of Kevin Harvick in the 5, and a look at the tires that came off of that 5 car.
He took it all the way to the limit, and he had built up such a good lead that he's able to keep it through that cycle. So I guess Ernie Cook knew what he was doing, and so did Harvick by staying out there.
They were talking about it.
I think we need to pit. 13 more laps, we can make it in 1 stop.
Yeah, it's getting bad. We're inside. We're going to have to come here, Ernie.
Coming this time, right front tire. This is stupid.
Yeah, but I think Ernie had a plan, and it did work out for him.
Ernie was going for the fuel, and Kevin's going for not wrecking the car. We've got to get this thing down pit road, get some tires on it. Thank gosh he did.
So after everything cycled out.
That tire didn't blow out. Dead boy.
Kevin Harvick's lead on Brian Scott is just 0.7 of a second. Brian cycles up to 3rd. Extra speed on the tires from pitting at lap 125 versus some of the cars he was racing with pitting not until lap 133. There's Scott in 2nd. Ryan Blaney cycles back up to 3rd. Now Kyle Larson is all the way up to 4th. And Regan Smith is 5th. Chase Elliott back to 6th. And some of those positions will shuffle as we get a little bit further into this run. The cars that stopped way early are going to start to fall off more quickly than some of these others, and it's going to be one of those kind of where does the caution fall to reset all of this races to determine where your track position net ends up being.
Tell you what, Goodyear's got to hope that this tire wear is going to go away, that this track's going to rubber up a little bit. And one thing I do know, for tomorrow's race, the Cup race, those cars got so much more horsepower, they're going to pound that rubber down on the ground and put some more rubber in the track, but these cars don't seem to be doing it.
No, the track seems to be just about the same color as it was when the race started. I don't see it really rubbered in, and that's what we saw in practice with the Nationwide cars. They just don't seem to put it down like the Cup cars do. Dude, there's another car in the top 10. Is the 33 of Cale Conley. He's done a good job. He's in 7th place. went through that whole cycle, pitted on lap 122. He's not far from racing up there for a top 5 spot.
Yeah, he kind of snuck right in on us right there. Yeah. He's having a good run.
Well, again, it comes back to what I said before. They pitted early, so they had the speed of 10 laps on the fresher tires over a lot of the other guys that they overtook who pitted later. Now, where does a caution flag come out in the cycle of things to level out that track position? And do you end up netting ahead by stopping early? Or do you end up falling off and the other guys pass you back and then the caution comes out and you don't end up with a net gain on anything?
Well,
that's really what it's about right now.
Yeah, it's about survival, too. There was a lot of cars that just had no choice of when to pit. Those right front tires wore out. They had to come down pit road. And some of them just have a little better stamina, able to stay out there and not wear the tire quite as bad.
This is third place. Ryan Blaney, 22. Chase Elliott, 9 in some traffic.
There's about 25 laps difference in these tires on these two cars. My car has 25 laps fewer.
And it looks like it, too.
Yeah.
That's like I said. Where does the caution come out to net it out?
I think Ryan Blaney says it needs to come out now for him to net out. And maybe Kel Conley, too.
There's 1, 2, and 3 of them by Kel Conley in a straightaway.
I was trying to think of that question you were just talking about, Alan. My answer was going to be now. Do it right now to get everybody leveled out, because there is a lot of haves and have-nots out there right now with speed and tire wear.
Depends on how you played your strategy, right? Where you chose to pit. That's the risk reward that you make as a crew chief, and sometimes luck, where that caution flag falls, helps make or break your strategy and how you chose to play it. Kevin Harvick out in front, dominated this one so far. Still a long way to go, though. 106 laps left in Richmond. Live at Richmond, caution flag out, debris on the racetrack, and the yellow flag for the third time. And there's that moment that decides your pit stop strategy and how it fell into the overall running of things. Kevin Harvick, the race leader. Well, Brian Scott, who pitted some 8 laps sooner than Harvick did, climbed back up to right on Harvick's bumper because of the fresher tires. And now he nets out in second place when the yellow flag fell. And the big break here, Ryan Blaney and Kyle Larson, who had to pit earlier.
Yeah, I think they're the big winners, especially Blaney, because he had a lot of laps difference, and he was losing some speed and time. He was going to lose more spots the longer that run went. That caution came just right for him.
Brendan Gaughan gets the free pass, and the leaders will come to the pit road this time. And even though a lot of them were just in under the green, they're coming back again.
Oh, yeah. Not going to miss a chance to get a reset on this tire wear.
16 cars on the lead lap. It'll be 17 with Brendan Gaughan added in. And here we go. Harvick, Scott, Elliott, Blaney, Smith, Larson, Dillon, Sadler, Busch, and Chris Buescher, your top 10. To Doc.
And Chase Elliott said that Greg Ives' adjustment with the air pressure in the right rear really helped the car pivot better, but not quite enough. So they're going to come back in, put 4 tires on fuel, and a round up, 1.5 rounds up on the track bar. Dave.
Leader Kevin Harvick, the car's still tight. They'll make an air pressure and track bar adjustment. Ryan Blaney, top right. It is better, but still a little tight center, loose off, track bar and wedge. And as for Brian Scott, he'll get a chassis and air pressure adjustment. His car is tight in the center and loose off at the corner. These guys made up some positions during the green flag pit stops. Kevin Harvick holds his, leaving pit road.
Nice job, Kyle Busch's team, gaining a little track position on the pit stops. No surprise there.
They seem to do that every week. They got a great pit crew.
So caution out with 97 laps to go. Live at Richmond after a 3+ hour rain delay. The NASCAR Nationwide Series Toyota Care 250 got underway. We were supposed to start about 7 o'clock Eastern time. The weather kept us from doing so. A look at our Ram Race rundown of what happened when we finally did go to green. Brian Scott pacing the early going.
Yeah, Brian Scott, a really good restart right here. Started the race, he paced us early. Then that car started falling back just a little bit for Brian. Started getting himself in trouble as the race went on. You see Kevin Harvick here getting around him.
That's one car that started a little bit further back, but made his way to the front. Kevin Harvick's had a pretty good stranglehold on the lead.
Kevin's led 106 of the 154 laps. Scott led 45 of the others. 2 other drivers led 3 between them.
Had some tire issues, though. Ryan Blaney was one of the first. See, Suarez also having a right front tire problem, wearing them down to the cords.
The long green flag run just concluded. Brought a lot of these images about. Fortunately, everybody kind of got away with it. And now gets a reset again. And a fresh set of tires and a reset on the race. 17 cars on the lead lap. Caution's been out on 3 different occasions for 18 laps. 4 different drivers have led on the night. Mentioned that Harvick and Brian Scott have done most of the leading. Jeremy Clements has led a couple of laps under caution. And Elliott Sadler, our ESPN in-race reporter, led one. He's had a pretty impressive drive tonight, Rusty.
Elliott Sadler, Rusty Wallace up in the booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got you, Rusty.
So give me your assessment, buddy. What's that car feel like out there? We are seeing some cars wear some right front tires out.
Yeah, we actually are having some right front issues too, so you got to try to manage them a little bit. You can't really slide them and punish them too bad. You got to kind of try to keep them in a straight line, whether it's your right front or your right rear. So our one main Financial Toyota is really good on long runs. We got to make it a little bit better on short runs, but we made up a lot of space on these guys towards the end of that long run. So we made a few adjustments. Got 90 laps left, I guess. We'll go after and see what happens.
Elliot, up here in the booth, we're having a conversation about the track. Just doesn't look like it's taking rubber like it normally does. Does it look that way from your point of view?
Yeah, usually it gets nice and black here in the corners. I think it's so cold maybe tonight that this rubber is just not laying down like it usually does. Usually we practice during the day, no rain, or it's a little bit warmer, and it seems to lay down a little bit more rubber. So I think that's why we're seeing a few tire issues, because the track's not taking enough rubber at all, kind of like we've seen at Bristol before. So again, you got to go hard, especially on these restarts, but you got to manage your stuff a little bit too, because if this has a green flag look to it towards the end of the race, you got to go a long ways here and try to keep your tires up under you. So it's kind of a cat and mouse game right now.
All right, buddy. Thanks for talking to us. We're commenting about how good you look out there. Good looking run tonight, buddy.
It's a good looking green race car. It might be working out for us here tonight. So we'll go get them right here and see what happens.
Same color as money. Thanks a lot.
Elliott Sadler having a good run tonight, running in 7th position at the moment, talking about his green race car. NASCAR's 2nd annual NASCAR Race to Green initiative has been launched, a way you can help support the environmental movement. NASCAR.com/green has more information about NASCAR's Green Initiative. Elliott Sadler, part of a group planting trees here in a park in the Richmond area as part of NASCAR and Richmond Raceway's Green Initiative this weekend. Brian Scott running in 3rd.
Come on, guys, clean that up. Clean it up. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. It's all about rhythm. It's about rhythm for me. It's about rhythm for you guys. You guys have been doing a good job. That one, I know you can. We're going to get one more chance at it, boys. You're going to get me the lead off pit road, and we're going to go win this dang thing.
Brian losing a spot on the pit stop there, but trying to pump up his crew.
Looks like that tire carrier had a little problem controlling the right side tires. It was a little late getting to the left side. Just about split second, lost one spot.
A little nod of his head as he finished his work and stood up there. You know that feeling, huh?
Yep.
Look at the restart reset. None of those cars you see, the wave arounds, are going to get back onto the lead lap. They're all more than 1 lap down.
You know, we've been talking a lot about tires tonight. I'm just really wondering if this particular tire requires less right front camber. There's a lot of teams down there yesterday saying, I want to take some of that camber out of the right front so it doesn't work the inside edge of the tire so much. I just wonder if they needed to do that tonight. I will promise you, those Cup guys are taking a look at that right now as they're watching this broadcast. This is very peculiar in my opinion that this track is not taking rubber. It was a good explanation from Elliott, but still, I've never seen it this bad that the rubber's not going down into this track.
Well, it's, you know, I know I've used the phrase before, but these cars are just rolling science projects, right? And you're trying to make tires for two different types of race cars all at once. The Nationwide car and the NASCAR Sprint Cup car now are running different configurations underneath them, as well as body-wise. And it really is an ongoing process of development to find that sweet spot that's just right for all of them.
Yeah, I can't blame anything at all in Goodyear right now. It's just different. I think this tire requires a little bit different setup. I commend them for what they're doing and working on to try to make the racing better for NASCAR.
Doubling up for the restart. Seems like the fog has eased off that was settling down over this racetrack so heavily before, so that's good news.
Yeah, we have definitely got much better visibility. At least I can see the lights in the back of the track now. So the ceiling is definitely lifting, getting better.
89 laps to go. Kevin Harvick, Chase Elliott, Brian Scott, Regan Smith. All three Junior Motorsports cars in the top 4 spots for the restart. Regan Smith trying to hang on. Looks like his car's a little bit edgy in that outside lane. Ryan Blaney by him, Kyle Busch by him. Whoop, little bump in the oops there.
3 wide down into turn 3 there.
Kyle Larson, 42. Cale Conley getting roughed up a little bit. 33. James Buescher, 99, involved there. Somebody to slip.
I tell you, I keep taking a look at Kwasniewski. He's having a pretty good run tonight, better than I've seen him have all year long. The car's been solid throughout the night, and he's driving hard, driving aggressive.
Had the one long run where the handle went away, and then he had to really tiptoe around and be careful for a while. They were hoping for a caution. Theirs were one of the teams hollering about sighting debris on the racetrack. There's a little roughing up.
Yep. He got a little piece of the wall, too.
Yeah, right front, right rear tire.
And he runs right in the wall.
Yeah, see, these are the kind of things that, rookie drivers just have to learn. It's just when, that point of the race, when do you push it? When don't you? That was one point of the race there that he probably should have used a little better judgment.
Now, you could tell James Buescher wasn't going to give him a break at that moment. He was about tired of running Kwasniewski side by side right there. Kwasniewski got in the wall and got the bad end of that deal.
Yeah, I'll give you a little bit on the other side of that judgment, too. He got roughed up a little bit there, too.
Yeah, he did, but that was a time where you see it developing. He was racing side by side with Conley, another rookie driver, and it was like, this doesn't look good.
So they're all still in a big old knot. Dakota Armstrong looking 3 wide low.
I've had so many young drivers come up to me and go, it wasn't my fault. I got hit. I got taken out. I said, it might not have been your fault, but it's the crowd that you're hanging out with on the track, man. Stay away a little bit next time.
I always like the saying of the late Dick Trickle, who said it's at least 50% your fault. You're the one went out there with those other idiots.
That's funny you said that. Trickle and I got in a wreck one night, and I said, what happened? He goes, well, the way I look at it, it was 70% your fault, 30% mine.
He was a hoot.
Well, at least he took partial credit.
He did.
Yeah. Everything's pretty static up front. Kevin Harvick, Chase Elliott, about 2-3 car lengths apart. Here's where all the knocking around's been going on.
Yeah, both sides caved in on that 31 of Kwasniewski, but he's still digging. I think he feels like Conley may have crowded him a little bit off turn 4, that last little brush up he had.
It's fun when looking at all these young kids, Cale Conley and Dylan Kwasniewski and Ryan Reed and so on. You talk to all of them. They're just good kids.
Yeah, they are. I've spent some time with Kwasniewski. He's just a good guy to hang out with, to talk to. Very upbeat. I think he's got a bright future. Just has very little experience. He's one of these he's truly a rookie out here in this series.
He's pretty proud of where he come from. He talks about the West Coast all the time. Got that West Coast look. Got the brim on his hat all pulled up all the time. He's a character. He's a lot of fun to talk to.
Peek inside Conley. Conley, the West Virginia driver, 33, doing a solid job in his third NASCAR Nationwide Series start. Another youngster that, just talk to him. Just good kid. Polite, well-spoken. All he wants to do is be a winning race car driver in the big leagues. And he's willing to work as hard at it as he needs to do to get there.
I see a lot of these guys just following each other. I mean, if I was them, I'd be moving up to that second lane, trying to get some bite up there, try to get around these guys. It's when you're like this, the car doesn't handle that well. You need to get that thing out from under a car, get up to some of that clean air, and get some grip, in my opinion.
I really believe, though, that the track not taking rubber has really kind of confined it to a little narrower groove. I just don't think that they can get up and do the things I've seen them be able to do here at Richmond when you see the track taking rubber. It just hasn't done it tonight.
Talked with Ryan Reed in that 16 earlier. Bakersfield, California native. Had some struggles in the opening races of the season. Tore up some race cars. Got the sit down from Jack Roush saying, son, you need to stop tearing up race cars. I'm behind you. I support you.
He needs to be careful right here. These are three young, aggressive rookies. There's some of the situations that you just want to make sure that you don't get pulled into, like some of that right there.
Yeah, I just took a look at Conley going down into turn 3 off the camera view, and he kind of bumped. Kwasniewski bumped him right in the back, kind of shoved him out of the way a little bit. Kwasniewski was tired of following Conley. He wanted to move him, and he did.
Brendan Gaughan now, 62, just got back on the lead lap with the free pass at that last caution. Now he's trying to take 15th away from his Childress teammate, Cale Conley, and does in that 33.
Don't let your frustrations get the best of you here if those guys are a little quicker on the restart, and just hold it together. Hey, you with me?
That's Nick Harrison. Nick Harrison, crew chief, and that's good advice.
Obviously just before the restart. There's the lead.
It's not really changed much. Chase Elliott's not letting Kevin Harvick get away at all. Matter of fact, they're kind of trading fast laps back and forth.
Tell you what, Andy, Elliott's a real deal again tonight. Just like you said, Harvick's not getting away from Chase a bit. Chase is catching him just a little bit. In fact, that last lap by, Kevin ran a 23.17 to a 23.04 of Chase Elliott. Elliott's that much faster.
All right, little strategy, little psychology under the helmet here for those of us that have never driven a race car. You know you got a race where, on a long run, the tires are going to be an interesting thing. So if you're Kevin Harvick, are you running just hard enough to keep the guy behind you, or are you running as hard as you can and he's catching you?
I think that Kevin is running as hard as he can right now, and Chase is just flat catching him. And if Chase is catching him, he better pass him right now before everybody's tires start wearing out again.
Well, one thing you got to keep in mind, I think the longest run that we've seen anybody make on tires was Kevin Harvick in that long green stretch, and it was like 89 laps, I believe. That's about the length of this run if they take it to the finish that they're going to have to do on this set of tires. It's going to push all of them to the limit. Harvick knows that, too.
Alan, one of the reasons I'm saying that, too, is that those two, the front leaders, are pulling away from the third-place car. They're 3 seconds ahead of them right now, so nobody's playing around. They're both running hard.
Okay. And as far as what are the chances of getting to the finish without another yellow?
Not too good.
I'm sure you have it.
Not likely. Last green run, 20 laps or less. 19 of the last 23 Richmond races. Last year, the last 2 green flag runs were 12 laps and 11 laps in April and September.
So maybe they don't have to make that long run.
Live at Richmond, it went wrong in turn 4 for Dylan Kwasniewski from 13th place. Yellow flag.
I don't know what happened there. I know he had some damage on both sides of the car. Didn't know if he had a tire rub or no. Maybe he got a little help. He got a lot of help.
Left rear flat.
Yeah, but I think that could have been from that contact. We need to look at it again. Yeah, if that wasn't related, he was going to spin anyway, whether he got help or not.
Yeah, the tire looks okay right there. Let's see if maybe the splitter.
See, they pushed the fender into the tire.
It did.
It's a good catch, Alan. That left rear quarter panel hit that tire, blew it out right there at that shot. That was the problem. Like a knife right up in that left rear, blew it out immediately, cut it right down.
Well, that's tough luck. A couple of the youngsters involved in a crash, and Kwasniewski continuing a run of tough luck he's had early on in his rookie season in this Nationwide Series.
He had a good run tonight. I think everybody's pretty proud of him. There's some pretty aggressive driving, though. They were roughing these cars up pretty hard.
Pit road's going to be open here for the race leaders. A crucial set of stops here with 59 laps to go. Harvick, Elliott, Scott, Blaney, Sadler, the top 5 coming in. Doc?
Chase Elliott's in the car's a little bit free in, but I'm getting snug in the middle, particularly when I'm trying to get under the 5 car, but I'm also getting quite a bit of brake chatter. One more round on the track bar, 4 tires and fuel. Dave.
Kevin Harvick said all those changes hurt the car, so they're going to go back on the track bar, air pressure, and add a wedge adjustment. As for Ryan Blaney, it took off tighter and tightened up. They'll make an air pressure adjustment for him. And Brian Scott said, you need to do something to help me save that right front. So they're going to make some adjustments for him as well.
Lose some track position there.
Elliott Sadler gains a couple spots, though.
Remember, we heard Brian Scott giving his pit crew the pep talk after the last pit stop? Well.
Okay, that was a great pit stop for Kevin Harvick. I looked out the window, and he got off pit road well ahead of Chase Elliott.
So under caution for the 4th time in this race. And the damaged car of Dylan Kwasniewski being hooked up to the wrecker, sitting at the exit of turn number 4. What happened on that pit stop for Brian Scott?
A little bit slow on it, actually a lot slow on the right rear coming off. They're also trying to make a chassis adjustment. That little problem on the right rear.
Yeah, that was a pretty lengthy one, too. It wasn't just a little bit slow, it was a lot slow.
Well, at a tough time, it'll cost you 3 positions. And two and change seconds, the difference in the pit crew times between Kevin Harvick and Brian Scott there.
That's a great stop for Harvick's team, 12.4.
Wonder if this transmission will be more pep talk from Brian Scott to the crew.
Might get one more shot at it here. Gotta focus. Gotta nail these stops right now.
Yes, it will.
It's frustrating, you know. Pit crew having a bad day. You got a good car.
Well, Brian in 6th place as we work the caution flag here and get ready for the final 57 laps of this one. Next one is at Talladega next Saturday. Coverage presented by Victory Motorcycles. We're on ESPN at 2:30 Eastern Time. The world's fastest speedway, the drafting, the finishes. Don't know what'll happen. I just know it'll be worth seeing.
It'll be fun. I really enjoy Talladega, one of my favorite tracks.
Next Saturday on ESPN at 2:30 Eastern Time. I don't know who coined the phrase. I just know I've heard one of my favorite singers say it. Jimmy Buffett says it's a fine line between Saturday night and Sunday morning.
We're right there at it.
We're about to cross the fine line between Friday night and Saturday morning anyway. Didn't expect to be here at this time. But 3+ hour rain delay earlier today here at Richmond left us starting the race almost 10:30 Eastern time, and now here at midnight East Coast time, still needing to finish it up.
There's so many people told us, hey, this race is supposed to start around 7 o'clock. It should be starting by 8. I think we were way off on that one.
Kevin Harvick's been right on tonight. His crew has too all night. Harvick's the leader under the caution, Dave.
Ernie Cope had the crew make some major adjustments there, but the pit crew got him on and off of pit road so well. How does he look for the last part of the race, Ernie?
Well, we keep getting tired as we go here, and we just freed him up again. Hopefully it's enough. He's pretty much as tight as we've been all night in that last run. So hopefully hold on, get our first nationwide series win this year. We haven't got one this year, so hope we get it.
All right, they threw more at it this time than they had in the previous stops, AB. We'll see if that works.
Got 54 laps to go, does Kevin Harvick. And still got Chase Elliott as his closest pursuer. Chase lined up on the outside of row 2. Now Elliott Sadler up to 3rd in that 11 car after a good stop by the Gibbs team there. Really been fascinating to watch how good this car has been all night long. And now Sadler in position to have a sniff at the lead for about the first time all night.
He has a good long run car. I bet he's hoping this thing goes 55 laps to the finish.
Didn't get going on the restart there. Challenge to his inside from Kyle Busch and others. Up and contact. Regan Smith around.
Get going, get going, get going, get going, get going. Stop, 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 stop. Get going, get going, get going, get going.
Amazingly, nobody hit him.
He spun out right in the middle of that entire field, and just like you said, Andy, I thought he was going to get clobbered. The whole field was coming at him, and they all missed him.
Any damage other than tires?
He spun the tires bad on that restart, and that just put him in a bad position. Kyle Busch goes ahead and makes the pass. Now he's 3 wide. Regan Smith gets in the left rear. See, right there, really spun the tires.
Regan got a piece of that wall. I don't think he's got a lot of damage, though.
Take the bottom, take the bottom, take the bottom. Inside, 3 wide, you're in the middle. 3 wide, you're in the middle. Still inside. Get going, get going, get going, get going, get going. Stop, 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 stop. Get going. Outside's full, still just 2. Easy, easy, inside, inside, you're 3, inside. Just stay straight, stay straight. Watch your outside.
I think there's enough blame to go around right there. I think Elliott Sadler crowded Regan just a little bit, but Regan definitely got in the left rear.
And the second it looked like Regan jumped out of the gas pedal, he might have got nipped too by Trevor Bayne.
Tell you what, if you don't have those tires cleared off and you don't have a good restart, you see what happens.
It all started from there.
It all started because he spun those rear tires. Just need to chirp those things a little bit more, get some more grip in the back of them. I talked earlier, my experience here trying to weave the car back and forth never does get enough grip in the back of the tires to get a good restart. You always got to kind of spin them straight ahead until the tires start getting some grip, and they stop spinning, then you're good to go.
So from 3rd place for Elliott Sadler, back to 18th. Regan Smith back to 17th now. And all that hard work all night to get that track position and put himself in position to have a shot at the win has gone.
That was a really bad break for Elliott Sadler. Like he had that really good pit stop, gained a couple of spots, was in a really good position on the restart.
So this, the 5th caution of the race. The driver involved in the 4th caution of the race is with Jamie.
Well, Dylan Kwasniewski's been checked and released. So about 10 laps ago, you had your first damage into the wall. Take me through what happened there and then what eventually resulted in you ending up here.
Yeah, the first time we got moved up into the wall by the 99. I don't know why it drove us in there, and then, we got damage from that. But, yeah, I got flat out dumped. Don't know what else to say. I mean, the 16 just put us in the wall and turned us back around. It's a shame. I knew we had a good piece. Turner Scott Motorsports did a great job of getting us a great car. It's a shame that we get dumped like that, but no respect for the driver. I mean, that's just what he drives like.
Well, Dylan, it's been a tough few weeks for you, obviously, on both ends. At what point, I mean, you hear people talk about how aggressive you are, but how aggressive your setups are as well. Do you keep doing what you're doing, or do you just have to look at it and dial back to finish these races?
Yeah, I mean, we were doing everything we could. We were trying to keep it clean, trying to stay out of trouble. I knew we had a good car. We were just trying to get back through there, and then we were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Unfortunately, we were driven hard, and that's what you got to deal with.
Dylan Kwasniewski started on the front row, kept it in the top 10, but his night is over early.
Well, we said we'd see some tempers get a little heated tonight, and it has happened. We're not even to the finish yet.
Well, he got bumped pretty good getting into turn 3, but what I don't think Dylan realized is that left rear quarter panel got up in that left rear tire and cut it down, and that's what really got him in the wall.
So Elliott Sadler and Regan Smith do have some history together on the racetrack a little bit, and Sadler's radio alive after the incident.
That's 2-0. He wrecked you loud, and then he wrecked you here. Did he come up, or I come down, or what happened? I don't know. I just got caught between Kyle and somebody. I don't know who was on the outside. He 100% came up.
Goes back to last year. Sadler in the 11 and Smith in the 7. And if I recall the quote correctly, if not exactly, I'll paraphrase it, but it was something like, "I promise you he won't win that championship," from Elliott Sadler after that one last July.
I remember that awful clear, but I do not think that's what happened this time. I mean, with Elliott spinning those tires, he got stuck in the center, and everybody's trying to get along him on the inside. I honestly think, guys, that was just a racing thing right there. I don't think that was an intentional at all.
Oh, no. And I don't think the New Hampshire one was intentional either, but you don't care about intentional or not. It happened.
Yeah, and another thing, when you're generally your spotter might crank you up a little bit too up there going, "Hey, man, it wasn't your fault. It was his fault." In this case, it was just a racing fault. Two guys going for the same spot. And one I'm in trouble being Elliott Sadler.
All right, we're going to try it again. 47 laps to go. Harvick and Elliott. That's Chase Elliott still with the front row. Now it's Ryan Blaney and Kyle Busch in row number 2. That was pretty impressive by the 9 car to hang on to second.
Yeah, he was wheeling that thing on the outside.
Kyle Busch trying Ryan Blaney for 3rd.
Tell you what, guys, we got to give a shout out to that 22 car, Ryan Blaney. He's doing great tonight. We all know that car is really fast, and Keselowski's won the last 2 races in it here. But Ryan's giving that thing a good ride tonight.
He was one of the cars that had to make the early pit stop for that high tire wear on the right front, but he got a caution at the right time, and he's got track position now. He's trying to hold on to it, though. Kyle Busch chewing on that bumper.
Kyle Busch talked earlier about not feeling like he had a winning car, but said you never know what it's going to be. You got to get into the race. You got to see what the conditions are. You got to feel it out, see what you can do to tune on it, work on it, and run the 250 laps to find out. Well, he's up to 3rd.
I mean, that first run, it looked like he definitely didn't have a car to win. That thing went straight back. I think he went back to 12th or 13th. He's turned it around now, though.
That car for sure has got better and better with every stop and every adjustment. I haven't seen him make a mistake on the adjustments yet. He keeps making the car handle better, run faster.
And he's up to 3rd, but losing touch a little bit with the top 2. Put a little bit of a gap on him. Brian Scott in the 2 trying to make up some of the ground lost on the pit stops when he lost 3 positions from 3rd back to 6th.
Kyle Larson, though, kind of showing some new life. Hadn't seen that out of him tonight.
Larson thought before the race he had a car that potentially could contend to win, but in the opening run of the race, he didn't move forward at all from where he started, which was back in the 14th spot. And this is about as high as we've seen Larson all night. Exception of a cycle of stops when everybody was off kilter for a little while.
That's one thing I've seen out of Kyle Larson, especially in the Sprint Cup Series. It seems like by the end of the race, the last lap is his high water mark of the day. He finds a way to keep moving forward. No matter what kind of car he has, he'll keep moving forward during the day. Doing it here tonight.
Toyota telemetry on board with Larson.
You know, Andy, we talk a lot about Kyle Larson being a guy that just loves the top of the racetrack. And tonight, the top of this racetrack's not coming in.
Yeah, it's just not there. I mean, he'd be the first one up there if it was. And I just haven't seen it. We see it on the restarts a little bit. They're too wide, and it seems like they can hang on for a couple of laps on that outside, but we're just not seeing them race up there tonight.
I gotta believe when I leave here tonight, that's going to have me scratching my head a little bit about why this racetrack just didn't rubber in and the second and the third groove didn't come in, because it always does. We talk about it all the time.
I believe when you leave here tonight, you're going to put your head on a pillow first, and you'll think about that tomorrow.
I think I will too.
38 laps to go. Kevin Harvick leading Chase Elliott, Kyle Busch, Ryan Blaney, and Brian Scott on an early Saturday morning in the capital of the Commonwealth. Finishing up tonight or this morning here in Richmond with the NASCAR Nationwide Series. Then it's on to Talladega. And then we head off to Iowa, Charlotte, Dover, Michigan, Road America, and on into the summer months. Join us at the track, NASCAR.com/tickets, or the number at the bottom of the screen. Look at that variety of speedway shapes and sizes. A lot of great racing. Kevin Harvick has been the star of the show so far tonight here in Richmond. Led 171 of 219 laps that have been run. Out in front of Chase Elliott by 0.8 of a second. Elliott Sadler trying to dig his way back after the spin that dropped him from third place back to 18th a little bit ago. The 11 car running in 10th, working on Ryan Reed for 9th and James Buescher for 8th here. And Regan Smith trying to follow him up through the traffic. Sadler and Smith stopped under the caution flag. They had to change tires after they spun. Advantage for them now in this short run, but if we get another caution flag, as history says we normally do, that advantage can quickly swing to a disadvantage.
Yeah, most of the leaders have one more set of tires to put on should we see that late caution that usually happens here at Richmond. I bet you Elliott Sadler and Regan Smith hope it doesn't happen tonight.
I don't think with 29 laps to go that probably if the caution flag come on now, anybody can really stay out. What do you think, Andy? They have to get tires. There's been so important tonight.
Yeah, tires mean too much.
Well, what can you say about, well, a couple storylines to touch on here. We talked about before the race the strength of the Junior Motorsports this year. The team owned by Dale Earnhardt Jr. in partnership with Rick Hendrick, and how strong they've been. In the last 6 races, every car they've entered in a Nationwide Series race has finished in the top 10 tonight. They're running first and second, and Regan Smith was up there knocking around for a top 5 finish until his spin a little while ago, and even now he's into the top 10 and showing some muscle.
They are. I mean, and this is the dominant car we saw last year. Joe Gibbs Toyotas were really the class of the field, except for maybe the Penske cars who won a lot of races too, with Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano, and actually about 4 drivers I think won in that car. But Junior Motorsports has just here in the last 4 or 5 races just risen above them.
You know, I'm so used to seeing Kyle Busch up there dominating. It looks like that team might have slipped just a little bit, lose a little bit of their mojo.
A little bit of conversation among some folks in the garage area, and NASCAR officials as well, that the laser inspection platform that NASCAR's brought over to the Nationwide Series this year, that they started in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series a little while back, a year and change ago, provides teams with data as they go through inspection. Gives them a printout of measurements on the car, and that what that's done is provide a lot of teams with information that they might not have been able to get on their own, sophisticated measurements where they're able to get closer to the line and closer to the edge, where some of the more sophisticated engineering-heavy teams like Joe Gibbs could get that information on their own, and it might have leveled the playing field just a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's some validity to that, because when you get a piece of paper in your hand and it is black and white on all of these parameters that they measure, and it's a lot of them, it's a full page or more, and it's in, you know, it's in decimal points. You can see just how close you're taking everything to the edge. I think that some of the teams last year, like the Gibbs and Penske teams, were a little better at doing that, taking it over to that edge. Now that everybody sees it, they know where they are. And I think it's helped some teams.
Watching Regan Smith try and dig his way back through again. The track position loss from the spin out on that restart, with the contact with Elliott Sadler that dropped him all the way back to the last car on the lead lap. 17th place at that time.
You got to believe that Regan's car might be running just a little bit loose right now, because that quarter panel on the right side is tore up pretty good, and all these cars are very, very aerodynamic sensitive, and it's probably messed up the downforce a little bit.
Ryan Blaney, Kyle Larson, with Brian Scott right behind them. And a very solid job by Chris Buescher also in the mix for this race for fourth position on back. Young driver in the 60 car from Roush Fenway there. Three young ones right there in that whole group. And I mentioned before, we don't consider Brian Scott to be a young up-and-comer because he's been around for a while, but he's even still only 26 years old. The old grizzled veteran of the group at 26.
Chris Buescher's got a lot of ARCA experience, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
I talked to some of his guys in the garage. Well, I guess it was yesterday now. But anyway, they're talking about how much fun it is to race with Chris Buescher. They really like him.
A theme from before, but good kid. Polite, easy to talk to. Just wants to be a winning race driver in the big leagues and willing to work as hard as he needs to get there.
That's a good shot. You can just see a lot going on right there. You can see just how he's moving the steering wheel. You can see the heat in the right front rotor. Good racing right here.
There's that spot off turn 2 we talked about earlier, Rusty, where you need all the track to have the momentum that's required to run a max speed lap. So here these two cars get hung side by side, and it's the beauty of the configuration here at Richmond.
You're exactly right, Alan. They do not want to get hung side by side right there, though. And Larson gets him. That bottom car can get really loose, Andy, if it's up alongside of him.
That was a nice pass by Larson. That's a tough spot. Kind of a tough pass to make off that turn 2.
With 15 to go, Kevin Harvick's eased away from Chase Elliott a little bit, and they've eased away from Kyle Busch by a lot. And then you're watching all this from 4th place on back. Larson now through to the number 4 spot.
Tell you what, old Kevin Harvick's been in his own zip code tonight. He has just been gone. The car's been hooked up on the restarts, stuck right to the bottom of the racetrack. He's not driving away from Chase Elliott a lot, but every lap he's pulling just a little bit. And that's enough right now to get him out to 1.31 second lead.
Kevin Harvick, 3rd all-time in NASCAR Nationwide Series wins. 6 Nationwide Series victories at this racetrack. 3 wins here in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. No surprise if he gets a 4th one later tonight. And just on a roll to start the season. When you look at Kevin Harvick, you see a guy that is on top of the game.
He certainly is. That's talked to him yesterday now again. But he's talking about his Sprint Cup success. I mean, there's a couple of races that he should have won that he didn't. And he's dominated, really been the dominant force in the Sprint Cup Series. He said he's having a lot of fun this year.
He should.
Yeah.
If you're going to do this for a living, running up front and contending to win races every week is about the most fun you can have, isn't it?
I tell you, when you're running up front and you're dominating like this and having a fun time, it is a fun time. And talking to Harvick yesterday, he is just so happy with driving for Stuart Haas and driving for Junior Motorsports. Both operations are running great right now. They're all hitting, and they're hitting on all 8 cylinders, both teams are.
Well, he's got some pretty good traffic he's going to have to maneuver around these last 11 laps.
Got a little bit of a gap, 2.5 seconds back to Chase Elliott now. And while we don't know if we're going to see the caution and if the circumstances are going to change, what another fine drive by the 18-year-old. After winning the last 2 straight races, Texas and Darlington, came here to Richmond, qualified on the outside of row 2, and he's been up in this lead group all night long.
Yeah, he just hasn't ended up second. He's stayed second throughout the night. Flirted around with taking the lead many times. I think he did a couple times. But another solid run.
He's the championship leader starting tonight in the Nationwide Series, and while the season is still young, he is the youngest ever to hold that point lead. And looking to add on to it, and will if things stay as they are now through these final 8 laps.
And Kurt?
Earlier on a long run, we saw Ryan Blaney's car begin to skate, slide around, and eventually he had to make an earlier pit stop than some with a tire, the right front tire on his car, beginning to give way. Blaney's slipping and sliding around here and giving up some spots.
He gets pinned in behind the 14. Looks like Elliott Sadler's going to be able to make the pass too.
Guys, I think you can pretty well tell the 22 car starting maybe to...
Well, baby, we see smoke off that right rear that time.
Start to say maybe a little tire issue too here. He's falling back just way too fast.
Just want to see what happens if Regan Smith catches Elliott Sadler. Just saying.
Now, you're not trying to stir something up, are you?
Nope, just saying. I just said, I just want to see what happens. Sadler on Chris Buescher for 6th place. And again, hoping he doesn't see the caution even in these final few laps.
And Elliott just really needs to clear him. Chris Buescher, yeah, as he does now, because running side by side really slows you up.
Sadler to 6th. Brian Scott's a 1.5 seconds ahead of him to get into the top 5.
Tell you what, you got to really hand it to Elliott, though. I mean, from 17th after the spin up to 6th right now, that's a big pickup.
Regan, too. Right with him, stride for stride through the traffic.
Buescher trying to hang on to that spot.
Coming to 2 to go here. Kevin Harvick. Couple laps away, some of that lap traffic ahead, but he does have some breathing room.
Yeah, what he might need it, though. I mean, that's the last thing you want to see is 3 lap cars right in front of you.
He's got plenty of room. Chase Elliott has fallen 2 seconds back off his bumper, and now we'll see the white flag. And we have started the last lap of the race.
No pressure.
Dominance, the only word to describe Kevin Harvick's drive tonight. He'll have led 202 of 250 laps. He'll get his 7th Nationwide Series win here at Richmond and his first victory of this season in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. 6 different winners in 8 races to start the year. Checkered flag for Kevin Harvick on early Saturday morning at Richmond.
Everybody.
Oh, great job, guys. That thing was unbelievable. Great job.
I'd agree.
Yeah, they make great adjustments. There was one run that they weren't as good as they needed to be. Looked like Chase Elliott might be able to pass him for the lead. Had a caution. Ernie Koch made a really good adjustment.
You know, we've seen so many times this team have pit stop problems in the past. Ernie Cope and the guys. But, boy, I haven't seen that this year. Great pit stops all night tonight. I mean, Kevin did a remarkable job. Wins lucky number 7 here at Richmond tonight.
And for all the success that they've had this season, and for all the time they've been around, the first ever 1-2 finish for Junior Motorsports just happened tonight.
And again, all 3 cars in the top 10.
Well, the Hardy fans that stuck around through the thunder and lightning, through the rain, waited out the start. About to get a salute from Kevin Harvick, that checkered flag, as he makes his way to victory lane tonight here in Richmond.
Ladies and gentlemen, entering the KR 250 here at Richmond International Raceway, and Kevin Harvick wins here at Richmond. Here's live NASCAR Nationwide Series. How many Kevin Harvick fans do we have that are
Another impressive drive for Chase Elliott.
Very consistent. I mean, I'm so impressed with this kid. We said he couldn't do it at Darlington. He did it. We had big questions about him here tonight. He did it again. Strong second place run.
Well, certainly tonight, Kevin Harvick had the Midas Golden Touch as he dominated this one and drives into victory lane. Again, 202 of 250 laps led for Happy, who must be pretty happy at the end of this one.
He was holding a pretty wheel.
Kevin Harvick has won the Toyota
A good night for Kevin.
50 here at the Richmond International Raceway.
Facts and figures on the night: 5 cautions for 36 laps, 15 finished on the lead lap. The only other driver that led more than 2 laps in this one was Brian Scott, who led 45. Other than that, it was all Kevin Harvick all night long here in Richmond. Team owner's got to be pretty happy.
You see Dale Jr. there, pretty big smile on his face. He's like, man, what is going on this year? We have got it happening. All the cars are running great. Rick Hendricks sitting at home going, yeah, that's my boys. You guys are doing just what I told you to do.
Our Victory Lane interview presented by Victory Motorcycles as they reposition Kevin Harvick's car just a little bit. Dave is there.
And a pretty cool place to be. His 7th win here, the most of any driver in the Nationwide Series and the most of any track for you. You did it to him again, Kevin. And with 100 to go, I didn't think you had it. How'd you get it done?
Yeah, we got a little bit off on that one run there with that one set of tires. Just kind of got to the end of the adjustment that we're using. But just got to say thank you to Kroger and Tide. This was in memory of our friend Tim Plogger, who's put these programs together for years for us. Secondly, I want to thank Hendrick Engine Shop, everybody from Junior Motorsports, Ernie Cope, all these guys that put all these effort into the 5 and the 9 and the 7. Just making it all happen. Just Hunt Brothers, Armor Foods, Morton Building, Chevrolet, Nationwide Insurance. This deal's been awesome all year.
So, Kevin, you may not realize this, but Junior Motorsports has never had a 1-2 finish. You've had to watch that youngster for a couple weeks. How's it feel to beat him to the finish line here?
You know, honestly, Chase is just a good kid. He knows how to drive a race car, and he pushes us to be better by trying different things that we've kind of been in our groove to do through the years. It's just like, you know, the groove getting into turn 1, I had to change my groove, but then I had to change my car because it was different. So he's as good as they get, and a lot of fun to be around.
Youngster making the veteran even better, and Junior Motorsports looking great in 2014. Doc Punch?
And Chase Elliott continues to be impressive. Chase, Greg Ives made a lot of changes on your car tonight, but where were you missing it just toward the end there to be able to try to run down Kevin Harvick?
We were just a little tight right in the middle of the corner. I don't know, I think he just outdrove me a little bit, and honestly, I feel like that was some of it was me. I kind of let him get a little too far out in front of me there for the first few laps, but I don't know, just need to get up on the wheel a little bit harder next week or next time, you know, if we're in that situation again. But I want to thank everybody at Napa all these guys worked hard all weekend. I feel like we came a long way from where we started practice, so it's cool to finish 1-2 for JRM, and congrats to Kevin and those guys. They're solid all night.
Hey, nice job.
Thank you.
Hey, by the way, Alan, when the checkered flag waved, Chase Elliott cued the radio and apologized to his crew for being outdriven by Kevin Harvick. Said, I got to work harder. I can't let that happen. How about that for a young man already apologizing for finishing second?
No excuses.
That's something that'll endear him to his team for sure. And I look forward to watching Chase race a lot here in these coming months of the season, including next week at Talladega, when Chase, Kevin Harvick, and the other NASCAR Nationwide Series drivers will take to the world's fastest speedway on Saturday at 2:30 Eastern. We'll have it on ESPN. It will be spectacular, and it'll be frantic, and it'll be tense, and it'll be a lot of fun. Next Saturday at Talladega on ESPN. Well, a long day and a long evening here in Richmond tonight. If you've been with us through this whole thing, God bless you. We sure do appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been a long one. We got to thank Airtight, keeping that track dry or getting it dry for us, and we got the whole race in.
I don't think I've ever seen this much rain in a long time. That was some of the hardest rain I've seen, but some really good racing we saw tonight. A little concerned about what the teams are going to do next time here. They're going to adjust the tires a little bit different, but a good race and another good run out of Chase Elliott.
Thanks to our crew for keeping all these millions of dollars of electronics working in all the water and wet and hanging in there and giving their full effort right through the wee hours of Saturday morning. And next week, it's on to Talladega, 2:30 Eastern on ESPN. Oberman coming up next. Kevin Harvick, the star of this Friday night into Saturday morning in Virginia's capital city, led 202 of 250 laps and scoring his first win of this Nationwide Series season.